Good morning, Dr. David Ajibadi. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good, Gary. How are you?
I'm great. I can see you today. You're like showing up in full living color. What
Oh
part
my
what
God.
part of the world are you in today?
I am in Arlington, Virginia, and yes, I try to get my lighting taken care of, but it still looks like there's a few shadows behind me, so it's
Oh,
still,
you're fine.
still,
It's
still
great.
yeah,
It's great. It's great.
yeah,
So, David, I know we only have a few minutes, but I got to get this nailed down. I want to know about senior moments. I'm in my 60s. My mom's in her 80s. There's this short-term memory forgetfulness, and if you could explain about why that's happening to people, and then um, how that's different from the long-term memory issues, and I guess we can wind up with some nutrition guidelines about how to prepare for later in life. So that's a very interesting topic that people have been writing to me about. And tell me what you know.
yeah. Sure. I mean, it's really a matter of life happening to you, though, Gary. Like in every other case, or most other cases, as we grow older, things begin to deteriorate. They don't work as well. Whether it's with your heart or whether it's with your eyesight, or whether it's with your lungs, your liver. You're not the same person you were when you were 25 years old, for instance, and that's kind of like seen to be the peak of our performance because actually it's 18, 19, you're at the peak of your strength, your muscle build, uh, and your different abilities. But when the brain is concerned, the brain only achieves maturity around the age of 25. That's when the prefrontal cortex gets fully developed. That's the part that deals with executive function, decision making, delayed gratification, things like that. So it just makes sense that when you get to be 30, that's why you don't find too many gymnasts at the age of 30. You don't find too many people winning the 100 meters hurdles or the 100-meter race at the age of 30. One or two, but for the most part, they're younger than that. And that's what happens. It shouldn't be, though. It shouldn't be. But that's what happens. It's just a question of wear and tear. And why I say it shouldn't be is because that if you know what to do, there are things you can do to avoid it. So, for example, we're talking about senior moments. The brain is what functions. The brain is what helps you to remember things as rapidly as it should. But the brain, like the rest of your body, has been under attack pretty much since you were born. So I know we talked about antioxidants, free radical damage, oxidative stress. We talked about inflammation. We talked about things like dehydration, the production of chemicals that could be harmful to the body. And don't forget, we have bugs living in our body too, and not all of them are helpful. Some of them can produce toxins that can affect the brain over a long period of time. The food we eat, preservatives, the processed foods, the the antibiotics that are injected into our beef, our cattle, our chicken, our poultry, all those things over time affect us. In addition to that, our guts, and I used to talk a lot about the digestive system. But the digestive system over time begins to slow down and you don't absorb nutrients like you should. So I'm trying to give you an overall picture. In fact, in my opinion, Gary, it's a wonder more people aren't coming down with it, especially because most people don't know about these things, and therefore they don't know what to do to counter it. So I would say we are extremely resilient. But I'm going to end this particular discourse or this aspect by saying what we know about women, and I know we're talking about some elderly women just before we came online. What we know about women is that they do much better when it comes to the brain and the hearts up until menopause. Then after menopause, it seems to equal out. Both men and women have strokes and dementias, but then further on, from the 60s, 70s, you find that women have it even worse in terms of dementia. One reason for that is that women tend to live longer than men. Another reason for that is that the estrogen levels, and estrogen has been found to be extremely protective of the brain. The estrogen levels tend to drop as you grow older and older and older in women, and therefore the protective influence it has on the brain drops. The advantage we men have is that as you grow older, you still produce testosterone, produce a lot more testosterone, and the testosterone can be converted to estrogen. which protects the brain. So that's all the reasons, maybe not all, but one of the reasons why men tend to fare better when it comes to dementia and Alzheimer's disease. But yes, even at the age of 40, people do start, it becomes more of a struggle to remember things that used to come pretty easily to I've experienced it, you've experienced it. But if you're dealing with other mental health conditions, like, for instance, depression, anxiety, if you're not sleeping well enough, and all those things that we talked about that's big for a healthy lifestyle. If you're not doing those things like you should, you're not eating well, it's going to accumulate over time. And it's going to affect your brain's ability to process stuff. Of course, if you're diabetic, if you're hypertensive, that too can add to it as well.
Good. So I get the picture. The question now is, because I'm a health coach, I want to be able to give fundamental first principles towards dealing with these things that we know are coming. Right? If we should be so fortunate as to live long enough, there are going to be these typical lifespan breakdowns. But how do we prepare for that? How do we ensure a long and happy life? And how do we keep joy in the center of our lives? And how do we prepare our bodies nutritionally? So, I mean, I'm going to take it for granted that everybody knows that if you eat McDonald's every day, you're going to have trouble later on, because there's a lot of processed chemicals in there that we're imbibing, and we don't really understand or know what they're doing to us. But certainly if it's the potato chips, the ice cream, the Dunkin' Donuts, then we're going to have a harder time as we get older. How would you tell somebody in their 60s or 50s to make those lifestyle changes and to eat the whole natural foods and to supplement with the vitamins and the minerals that may be lacking in the normal food supply? Can you speak on that?
Yeah, sure. That's a whole range of subjects, Gary. So I want to start with the general principles, the core basic lifestyle principles. And then many of these things our listeners, our viewers are going to already know. Obviously, you got to move more. There's a ton of research going out saying movement, exercise, even physical weightlifting. You got to be careful when you talk about weightlifting. We don't want you to hurt yourself. But weightlifting has a huge impact, and within reason, of course. We don't try 350-pound dumbbells, but they have a huge effect on brain health. Walking briskly playing a sport is wonderful. Pickleball is becoming a really fast-growing sport in the country, in the U.S. Just the mere act of moving more can save you a whole lot of stress. You don't want to be sitting down in front of a computer all day long. You want to get up and move around. So we know sitting can affect things. You mentioned foods, eating good, healthy, organic food. That helps. Not eating much before you go to bed, that helps as well. Sleeping well in a dark room with no noise, with your cell phone off, no computers near you at all, because of course those emit frequencies that can affect you. So those are the regular things we talk about. And Bobby talked about the 7 laws of life, like I mentioned to you. So your spirituality matters, your thoughts, your attitude matter, your relationships with others, the job. If you're retired, your hobbies, you got to be active. You got to be doing something. You just can't sit down waiting to die. Even if you have money, you are made to move. You are made to act. Those are core things that your brain and body need to survive and to function. So that needs to be done. Now, having said that, and having mentioned the whole thing about the general principles, we want to go into the more specifics. And when it comes to specifics, we want to take in nutrients. And I love this quote. I always quote it, so bear with me. The human body heals itself, and proper nutrition provides it with the resources that it requires to accomplish that task. The human body heals itself. And that presupposes that the human body is being damaged or being affected on a regular basis. If the human body heals itself, it needs the nutrition, it needs nutrients, it needs the building blocks to be able to do that. And our bodies are the most sensitive part of our brains are the most sensitive parts of our bodies. So they need the nutrients. They're being damaged, they're being attacked every single day, so they need the right nutrients. And this is what I feel we medical professionals need to talk about. You've got to provide the brain and the body with the nutrients it requires to protect itself. So amongst those things, we talk about vitamin D. This is even more important for Black people than it's important for white people, more for Black people, because we are chronically deficient in vitamin D more than any other race. Vitamin C, they're finding out, is super important. Not only does it protect against damage, it also helps the body produce certain neurotransmitters like serotonin. You want to take zinc. Zinc is the most important mineral for the brain and for brain development. So those three, to me, they form the basic things. And I would add a fourth one, which again, people don't recognize, but it's called fiber. I choose psyllium husk fiber because of what it does for the guts and for the good bacteria in the guts. And again, that's another story, but the good bacteria play a huge part in brain health. So the more you feed the good bacteria, the healthier they will be, and the more they will do their work of protecting and making for a healthy brain. So fiber does help in that support. So those four would, in my opinion, act as the fundamental basics for having a healthy brain. Now, to build upon that, we would say things like the cardiovascular health, especially for those who are dealing with diabetes or any other chronic disease. You've got your cardiovascular system. The blood vessels, the arteries carrying blood from the heart to the brain must be healthy. And so you need nutrients that will help to make those arteries healthy. One of them, again, is vitamin D. Others are omega-3s. We'll talk about that later. And then, of course, L-arginine, or anything that can help your body produce nitric oxide. L-arginine is an amino acid that helps the body produce nitric oxide. There are other, like beets too, have chemicals in them that help the body produce nitric oxide. But the L-arginine seems to be the most popular. Don't get it on its own. It's got to become in a complex. On its own, it's not going to work as well. So you want to make sure that your blood flow to the brain is working well. And these are some of the things. You would need a nutrient complex that will aid in that process. Number two, you would need something to help in the brain structure itself. The brain is made up of fat. 60% of the brain is made up of fats. A good proportion of that is omega-3s. So you need to have a good quality omega-3 that will help in the protective and rebuilding and repair of brain cells that, as we've just said, are being damaged on a daily basis. So omega-3s do a lot of things. Structure is one of them. They also help in terms of addressing inflammation. They also help in terms of transmission of nerve impulses from one nerve cell to the other. I mean, in my opinion, there's nothing more important than omega-3, especially for the brain. As you know, Gary, we run a foundation back in Nigeria, and the most important thing that we do for them, whenever we have it, is to give these kids who have brain damage omega-3s. And the results they get are dramatic just from giving them omega-3. So very, very important. Another thing I would like to do for the brain, and of course there are several things that can be done, but I'm just highlighting, in my opinion, what is probably the most important. What are the most important? Another thing are probiotics. Probiotics are good bacteria. We are now beginning to find out that many brain issues, including autism, including dementia, actually starts in the guts and not in the brain. The triggers apparently starts in the guts. They're finding out that there are specific microbes or bacteria that start the cascade of damage in the guts, and that is transmitted from the gut into the brain, where the same cascade continues and causes more damage. And of course, the brain being more sensitive than the guts, you see the effects more readily in the brain, but it actually started in the guts. I forgot to mention Parkinson's disease too. Same thing, finding out that Parkinson's disease starts in the gut. So it's really, really important that you do not neglect the digestive system. And really, that goes for any disease whatsoever, whether you're talking about cancer or talking about cardiovascular health. The digestive system has to be paid attention to. Again, this is a problem I'm not seeing being taught from the pulpit in medical schools, and I think they should be. So,
Yeah, well, to that end, I want to make it clear that Optimal Health Bridge is going to do a monthly donation. We've sent off over 1,000 capsules down to your shipping point to be sent to Nigeria,
thank you.
and we're committed to doing that every month. So that's something that's very important to us, is to have good people like you to work with in order to spread our blessings around. Because I feel very fortunate. I feel that uh, having gone through a number of these cardiovascular issues and things like that, I feel like I'm on top of my game right now. At
Wow.
67, I feel like I'm healthier now than I was at 37, to be
Really?
quite honest.
Wow.
And the reason for that is that I've been paying attention. I've been learning and I've been studying, but you could almost say I'm religious about it, in the sense that I'm committed, right? So when we make a decision, we have a goal. There's no wishy-washiness about this. You know, if we're going to be living a fulfilling, purposeful life, what do we need? We need joy in the center of our hearts. We need happiness. We need all those things you said. There's good relationships with others. And how about a good relationship with yourself, where you're not beating yourself up all the time mentally, worrying about things and being anxious and full of anxiety about what's around the corner. Oh my God, you know, so we got to take care of ourselves in that way.
Yeah.
But, you know, I feel blessed. I feel like now's the time to give back and to help people like you with your mission, the brainandbodyfoundation.com. I think it's very important that people go and see what you're doing there. That you're doing some amazing things. So one thing I want people to know is that you have a television show in Nigeria that broadcasts all over most of Africa, or West Africa, South Africa.
Yeah.
And it's a weekly show, correct?
Twice a week.
Twice a week. Okay. So millions of people follow you and listen to you and your advice. So I want them to understand that you're not just coming out of the woodwork with some ideas. You've been practicing this for decades. And we want to do a little tiny part to help you be successful with caring for people in your country. And you had just mentioned to me before we started recording that there's a Facebook page where you're going to be broadcasting every week. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so it's called the Black Women's Entertainment Channel, Empowerment. Sorry, Black Women Empowerment. It's being run by Dr. Jacqueline King, and she has over 2 million subscribers, and she just wants to give them good quality information. And when she heard about us and what I'm doing, she jumped at the idea. So every week at 8 p.m. It's called BWE. If you look for BWE, I'm not sure there's something else after it, but look for BWE on Facebook. You should be able to see it. And it's 8 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesdays. And I'll be there talking for at least 30 minutes on a health topic, especially a health topic that is of particular importance to women, to Black women, because they seem to be the most at-risk demographic from what I've seen. But of course, there are things that would apply to anybody else as well.
Okay, we'll get that link from you. We'll make sure it's in the video here somewhere or in the description below when we publish this. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us today before we close out?
No, thank you. Just thank you for the opportunity, as always, Gary.
Yeah, well, it's you've been a big help to me personally, and you have this amazing network of resources. So you may not have all the answers, only most of them, but you'll know somebody who knows somebody and we'll get the job done. And
that's a good thing. I mean, I just realized how blessed I am. Sometimes I had an issue a couple of days ago. I wasn't sure what to do. I just sent a text to a 70-year-old brilliant genius who has invented to us so many patents to his name. I just said, what can I do about this? And within a second, he had to reply, tell me exactly what to do. So it's a huge privilege I have.
Yeah, well, you've built that network over a number of years, and it's only, and here's the point. The bottom line is we want to help, we want to serve, and we want to spread the blessings. We want to broadcast the truth and help as many people as we can. So with that, Dr. David, thank you for your time today. I appreciate it. Take care, Godspeed, and let's figure out how to meet somewhere in the middle between Arlington and Baltimore, and we'll have some food together.
Absolutely. We're gonna make it happen.
Thank you, David.
You bet.
So just back to what we had talked about previously about your really fantastic work over in Nigeria, helping people in your clinic, and you have a certain way of doing that, not just at the clinic, but you send supplements out to people around the country. And we had a commitment to send at least 1,000 or 2,000 capsules every month for your clinic at the True Omega-3. And just so people know, like I've only said this 8 million times, the higher potency is better for the body. Our formula is 400 milligrams of EPA and 300 milligrams of DHA. So those names are eicosapentaenoic acid, that's the EPA, docosahexaenoic acid, that's the DHA. Those two components comprise the benefits that are achieved in the body for human health, cardiovascular, brain health. And I just wanted to get you to comment a little bit about the potency and what it's going to mean to your clinic and the practice that you have in Nigeria.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for this, Garey. Yeah, as you rightly said, the DHA and the EPA, the two main components of the omega-3 fatty acids, are extremely important for brain health. And what we know is that people, kids, adults, but especially kids, because we work with kids a lot, those who have any form of brain damage, whether it's seizure disorders or cerebral palsy or genetic conditions, all of them stand to gain and do gain tremendously from high potency, high dose omega-3 fatty acids, especially if it's from a very good company where they process it right. Many companies simply don't take the time and the effort to remove the impurities and the toxins from the omega-3s. So from what I've seen, True Omega is a really, really good example of a good quality omega-3s that will be of tremendous benefits to our kids back home. And I can't wait to start telling you about the results. Thanks again.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that endorsement. And we're so happy to help. It's just our privilege to do that. And I feel very grateful to you that you've opened up your network and your resources, and we have access to you. Whether you're here or in Nigeria, we know how to get in contact with you. It's drdavidajabade.com. We'll put that in the description below. Right. And it's brainandbodyfoundation.org. So we'll put that link in the description as well. Thank you, Dr. David. Have a great day. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk very soon.
Thank you. You too, Garey. God bless.
Take care. Congratulations on your journey to optimal health. Over here, we have the Knowledge Library where you are welcome to dive in and keep learning.